All right, we are going to choose Autodesk, which is the pencil, and we are going to need a new piece of paper. We're going to hit the three dots and lines up here, hit New Sketch, and Create, and you can either save or discard your current sketch. I'm going to discard it, okay? We are going to make a landscape today, and after you looked at all of those, the video, and you talked about background, foreground, and middle ground, we're going to do that. So I've got some really fun things to show you. On the left are your tools, and on the right are your layers. The only really thing you need to know up here is your undo button, okay? So I'm going to start with a paintbrush because I'm going to do my background. You always want to build from back to front. So my paintbrush that I'm going to use is this fan brush, and it makes some really great texture, and then I'm going to show you how to blend it. So I want it as large as I can. Click off the square to get rid of it. I come down to my double puck, and I want to change my color. You can see how I've got my paintbrush. Here's my color. So I want a blue. I want kind of a medium blue. If I don't find anything here, I can always drag one down, and then this one can be my color palette, but you can always just use them from up here. So let's go light blue, click off, and I'm going to reduce the size by just pinching it, and I'm going to start up here simply by applying color. Every time I lift up my pencil or my finger, it makes a new darker color, okay? So I'm going to put in some darker spots. It kind of already looks like there's clouds in there. Now you could leave it like this, or you could blend. My blending tool or smudge tool is this little cone looking guy here. If I click on it, you can see it says smudge pen, and I can change his size, and I'm going to blend all of my pieces. Now if I don't like that, I can do undo and it comes back, okay? But I kind of like it. So, and it's completely up to you. Remember, we're working on our background, so I'm going to do that. If you wanted to do a sunset background, you could, or anything really, purple sky. All right, so now I want to go to my color. I want to add some green. I'm going to go a little lighter because I'm working on my first layer. So I always like to go light to dark. So I am going to, again, give me just a background. Notice how my palette went away, but he'll come back when I leave that. I think I want that just a tad darker. You decide. Okay. And actually, this kind of looks, if I just tap this, kind of looks like some bushes over there. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that. That could be your middle ground, these bushes. Okay, you decide. Now, let's change paintbrushes. I'm still on the same layer, however. Maybe I want to put something else in the middle ground. Let's go back to my nice pen, and I'm going to change to, let's put in, I always say purple mountains. Let's do some mountains, and I'm just going to draw a line back here for my mountains, okay? Now, I could color some of those in. I'm going to show you how to overlap. I'm just going to use my tool to color some of those in. It doesn't have to be perfect, because watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to that brush, and I'm going to go back to green, and maybe even with a darker green, I'm going to go over and kind of hot, oopsie. Let's go undo, undo, undo. Let's look at the size of that brush. So you can go back later and just kind of go over for this brush or these trees. Okay, so let's go back to purple. I'm doing light purple. I want to make sure my size is small. I can also increase notice I'm kind of going in one direction. I can also use my pen if I wanted to do that. That gives it a more solid look. Did you notice the difference between those two? And it completely covers up that green. So the pen will make it more solid. let's say I make a mistake. I'm going to go ahead and make a mistake here. And I'm not going to want to, I'm going to want to erase that a little bit. So there's no mistakes in art, so you could even, if you did make a mistake, you could redraw that line and fill it in for your mountain. Remember, don't worry about the bottom. Or, if I really wanted to stick with that, I've got an eraser down here. This one right here, I want to click on it and see what size it is. I want it still kind of small. I'm going to enlarge and watch this. If I'm still in pen, it's going to give me a really, it's only erasing. It's not keeping my, it's also erasing the blue because I'm not on a separate layer. So I'm going to undo. You have to know where you're at and which way to erase. So instead of erasing, that was a good mistake that I made. Instead of erasing, I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to redraw my line for my mountain. If I was on another layer, I could have erased just that purple mountain and the blue sky would have stayed the same. All right, now let's change our pen back to the fan brush. Let's change our color back to green. And we're going to cover over in between the grass line and the mountain line. And this is going to allow for a smooth intersection of, I'm going to make it bigger so I can work faster. If I just kind of click on it, it's not blending. So now if I pull back out, I've got these trees up here. I could start with my tree branches. These are going to be my leaves if I wanted to. Okay. All right. If you want to put another tree over here, you can. So you have your background, your middle ground is your mountains, and your foreground is your tree and your grass. If I wanted to make this a little more clear. All right, last thing we're going to do, I'm going to change my tool to my pen again. I want to go to my brown, squeeze that in a tad. Now I am going to go ahead and do a new layer. So I'm going to hit plus. Notice how a new layer shows up. I make sure I'm on it, click it, and I'm going to start drawing my tree. To show in foreground, you have to always start at the very bottom. So here is my tree. It can kind of come off. Let's make a V there in the middle and maybe another V here. Okay. Now I want to color it in. I want to size up a little bit. That way I can color in my tree. If it's too big, I'm going to show you now how you can erase. Let's say I oops a little bit. I'm making my tree branches a little bit. Okay, let's say I made a mistake in here. I want to clean that up. Since I'm on a new layer, I can. I'm going to scroll down. My eraser looks like this. I'm going to enlarge this and watch what happens. I can take out the brown and my sky and my leaves still show up. Isn't that cool? Okay. I might want to put that back. Let's go back to my pen. Oopsie. Let's go back to my pen. And I can redo that. Now notice how the first time the first layer of brown was light. I can add another layer and make it a little darker. Okay, there's so many things you can do. All right, once you have your tree the way you want him, I am going to add another layer of darker leaves. So I want to come down here, I want to get my paintbrush, and now I can start adding some more leaves. And I am just dotting, wiggling that. Okay, I can change the color. If I don't like something, I can change it. And now you have your landscape. Background, foreground, and middle ground.